Ah, there you are, sharp-eyed soul. The rare kind who notices the crack in a smile before everyone else applauds it. And I must say, your instincts have been making fools nervous for quite some time. You have a strange little talent, don't you, dear anomaly? You walk into a room and feel something wrong before anyone speaks. Someone smiles, yet your stomach tightens. Someone promises loyalty, yet one tiny detail scratches against your mind. Someone tells a beautiful story, and somehow you hear the ugly sentence hiding underneath. People call you suspicious, sensitive, difficult, paranoid, funny little labels. People love labels. Labels save them from thinking. Give a person a label, and suddenly nobody has to examine the evidence. But you keep noticing. That is your problem. And perhaps your greatest advantage. You notice the pause before the answer, the change in someone's voice, the sudden kindness from someone who needs something, the compliment carrying a hook, the apology arriving only after consequences appear, the friend who laughs with you while quietly competing against you, the person who says, "Trust me," 5 seconds before giving you a reason not to. You see the smoke before everyone else smells the fire. Then you do something dangerous. You doubt yourself. Why? Because other people disagree. Ah, there is the little trap. You think truth needs a majority vote. It doesn't. 5 people staring at a locked door do not make the door open. 10 people calling the sky green do not repaint the sky. And 20 people insisting someone has good intentions do not erase what your own eyes witnessed. Your intuition does not need applause. Your instincts need discipline. There is a difference. Listen carefully. Bright little observer, because this part matters. Intuition is not magic. You are not receiving secret messages from the universe. You are processing information faster than your conscious mind explains the calculation. Your brain notices patterns, faces, voices, timing, behavior, contradictions, tiny changes in expression, repeated actions, old experiences. Your conscious mind says, something feels wrong. Your deeper mind has already started listing the evidence. You simply haven't read the report yet. And life has probably given you plenty of training. Every betrayal taught you something. Every broken promise left a measurement. Every manipulation gave you another pattern. Every person who smiled while lying added another signal to your internal alarm system. Pain has a strange education system. No classroom, no certificate, no graduation ceremony. You pay with experience. Then one morning you walk into a room and recognize a pattern before the lesson repeats. People think you are guessing. You are remembering. Perhaps nobody taught you how to read people. Perhaps you learned because you had to. Perhaps you learned because somebody close to you changed faces depending on who entered the room. Perhaps you learned because you discovered early that words often arrive dressed better than intentions. And once you notice the difference, you never become quite as innocent again. Now, before you start worshiping your intuition, let's ruin the party a little. Your instincts deserve respect. They do not deserve a throne. Your intuition speaks. You still investigate. That distinction separates awareness from paranoia. Hold your location right here for a mandatory tactical briefing. Every minute you spend trying to decode why the clones turned on your soul is a minute you are actively donating your life energy to a parasite. You need an immediate behavioral firewall. The primary manual, Evolution of the Anomaly, was engineered to permanently cremate your anxiety loops. The complete package is live at the top pinned link in the comments section or video description. Secure your assets today. Now let us step straight back into the core of this video. If your instinct says, something feels strange, don't immediately accuse someone. Watch, wait, check. Look for repetition, look for evidence. Ask yourself what happened, not what you fear happened. There is your armor: observation, patience, verification. Those three habits turn intuition from an emotional alarm into a useful instrument. Suppose someone repeatedly cancels plans with you, then appears with other friends. Your instinct whispers, "They don't value me." Fine. Don't launch a courtroom drama inside your skull. Look at the pattern. 1 cancellation means little. 5 cancellations followed by excuses means something else. Suppose a business partner suddenly becomes secretive around money. Your stomach tightens. Good. Don't accuse them of stealing. Check the records. Read the agreement. Ask direct questions. Protect yourself with facts. Suppose someone showers you with praise after ignoring you for months. Your instinct says, they want something. Again, don't panic. Watch what follows the praise. Does a request arrive? Does pressure appear? Does affection disappear after you refuse? There is your answer. Intuition points toward the door. Evidence tells you whether someone is standing behind it. You see why this matters? Your gift becomes dangerous when you turn every feeling into a verdict. Your gift becomes useful when you turn every feeling into an investigation. And people around you? Oh, they notice. They notice when you don't swallow every explanation. They notice when your eyes stay calm during their performance. They notice when compliments don't hypnotize you. They notice when guilt doesn't steer you. They notice when manipulation arrives and finds the furniture already moved. Some people become uncomfortable around someone who observes carefully. Why? Because performance requires an audience willing to believe the performance. Remove belief, and the performer starts sweating. You don't even need to expose anyone. Sometimes your silence does enough. Someone tells a story. You don't argue. You don't challenge them. You simply look at them for 1 second longer. Suddenly they add details nobody requested, then another detail, then another. Soon they are repairing holes you never pointed toward. Fascinating. A lie often requires maintenance. Truth usually travels lighter. Remember this: you don't need to prove every suspicion. You don't need to confront every strange behavior. You don't need to announce every observation. Some information belongs in your pocket. Silence gives you time. Time gives patterns room to reveal themselves. And patterns are where your real strength lives. One strange moment means little. A repeated pattern deserves attention. 3 separate people showing the same behavior around you. Study the common factor. 5 relationships ending with the same warning sign. Study your choices, too. Your intuition should point in every direction, including toward yourself. Oh, yes. You thought you were escaping the mirror? Cute. Your instincts aren't sacred simply because they belong to you. Sometimes fear disguises itself as intuition. Sometimes insecurity wears a detective's coat. Sometimes an old wound hears an old sound and screams, "Danger!" A person raises their voice and your mind remembers someone from years ago. A friend takes longer to reply, and suddenly your imagination writes a tragedy. A stranger looks away, and your brain creates an entire motive. Stop. Breathe. Ask one brutal question. What evidence do I have? If the answer is nothing, wait. If the answer is a pattern, observe. If the answer is strong evidence, act calmly. That is self-mastery. You don't obey every emotion. You listen to every signal. Then you decide. There's a difference between being sensitive and being controlled by sensitivity. You don't need to become colder. You need to become clearer. That is where your freedom begins. Because perhaps your greatest exhaustion has never come from seeing too much. Perhaps your exhaustion came from seeing something, then forcing yourself to pretend you didn't see it. Understand this data point clearly. Poverty is not a financial state. It is an engineered tracking device. When your resources are dry, your coordinates are completely predictable to the matrix. You are forced to show up at their corporate offices, answer their tracking calls, and trade your sacred life energy just to settle a baseline survival invoice. Stacking capital in the dark register is the only way to delete your coordinates from their tracking grid. True spiritual protection requires an unbribable bank account, but we will address the protocols of the digital shadow next month. For today, focus on your internal frame. You knew the friendship felt one-sided. You stayed. You knew the relationship kept draining you. You stayed. You knew the deal sounded wrong. You signed. You knew the apology lacked accountability. You accepted it. You knew someone repeatedly crossed the same boundary. You explained the boundary again and again and again. Why? Because you wanted your intuition to be wrong. You wanted the person to become the person you hoped they were. There is the prison. You weren't trapped by your ability to see. You were trapped by your refusal to trust what you saw. Your eyes became witnesses. Your mind became the corrupt official who kept losing the evidence. Enough. Your instincts deserve a hearing. They don't deserve blind obedience. Give them a hearing, then give reality the final vote. You see, little night watcher, life becomes easier when you stop trying to make everyone innocent. You don't need everyone to be innocent. You need yourself to be awake. Someone doesn't need to be evil for you to leave. Someone doesn't need to be a monster for you to establish distance. Someone doesn't need to betray you spectacularly before you decide their behavior no longer belongs near your peace. Read that again inside your own mind. You're allowed to leave before the explosion. You don't need to stand beside the leaking gas tank, holding a candle while demanding proof. Distance is information too. When you step away from someone, watch what happens. Do they respect your boundary? Do they attack your character? Do they suddenly recruit other people? Do they respect your decision? Their reaction tells you something. You don't need revenge. You need information. And information gives you options. Options give you freedom. Freedom gives you something manipulators hate. Choice. A manipulator wants your reaction before you understand the situation. They rush you. They pressure you. They create confusion. They demand immediate answers. They turn your questions into accusations. They make you defend yourself for asking. Slow down. Speed belongs to panic. Clarity belongs to patience. If someone says, "Answer me right now," breathe. If someone says, "If you trusted me, you would do this," breathe again. Trust does not require surrender. Love does not require blindness. Friendship does not require self-betrayal. Loyalty does not mean volunteering for repeated damage. You can care about someone and still keep the door closed. You can forgive someone and still change their access to your life. You can understand why someone behaves badly and still refuse to participate. Compassion without boundaries becomes self-abandonment. Boundaries without compassion become armor around a prison. You need neither extreme. You need control. Now let's talk about why some people seem uncomfortable around you. Maybe your presence doesn't expose their secrets. Maybe their own behavior exposes their secrets. There is an important difference. You don't need supernatural perception. You need attention. You notice when someone treats the waiter badly, but speaks politely to the boss. You notice when someone praises generosity, but avoids sharing. You notice when someone talks endlessly about loyalty while keeping backup options. You notice when someone says they hate drama, but somehow every room contains their fingerprints. These contradictions matter. Character lives in repeated behavior. People reveal themselves through consistency. Watch how someone behaves when there is nothing to gain. Watch how they treat people who cannot help them. Watch what happens when you say no. Watch what happens when you succeed. Watch what happens when you stop entertaining them. Those moments remove the costume. And sometimes you don't even need to ask a question. Give someone a boundary. Their response becomes the answer. This is why your intuition might feel like a curse. Awareness creates responsibility. Once you see the pattern, pretending becomes harder. Once you recognize manipulation, accepting manipulation feels different. Once you notice disrespect, calling it love starts tasting like poison. Once you understand your own habits, excuses lose their flavor. Awareness removes comfortable lies, and comfortable lies are popular. People build entire lives around them. I have to stay. They will change. They didn't mean it. I am overreacting. I should give them another chance. Perhaps, perhaps not. But don't build your future around perhaps. Build it around observable behavior. You don't need certainty about someone's soul. You need clarity about their behavior. That is enough. Your intuition doesn't need to tell you whether someone is a good person. Your intuition needs to tell you whether a situation deserves caution. Huge difference. You don't need to diagnose people. You don't need to label them narcissists, psychopaths, manipulators, villains, or monsters. Those labels often become distractions. Study behavior, study patterns, study consequences, then choose your response. That keeps your mind clean. And there is another secret your sensitive little mind needs to hear. You don't have to explain your instincts to everyone. Some people demand an explanation because they want an opportunity to dismantle your boundary. You say, I don't feel comfortable with this. They say, why? You explain. They attack the explanation. You provide another. They attack again. Soon you're defending your right to feel uncomfortable. Stop feeding the machine. A boundary is not a debate tournament. You don't need a 47-page legal document before leaving a room. I don't want this. I won't participate. I'm stepping away. Simple, calm, finished. Your intuition becomes stronger when you respect your own decisions. Every time you notice something and respond wisely, you teach your brain, I listen to myself. Every time you notice something and ignore yourself, you teach your brain, my signals don't matter. Over time, one habit builds confidence. The other builds confusion, so start small. Tonight, take 10 minutes. Write down 3 moments from the last month when your instinct warned you. Write what you felt. Then write what happened afterward. Don't romanticize yourself. Don't exaggerate. Don't turn yourself into some mystical prophet. Look at the record. How often did your first impression match later evidence? How often did fear create a false alarm? Study both. Your goal isn't to become suspicious. Your goal is calibration. A good instrument needs calibration. So does intuition. You refine it through experience. You correct it through evidence. You strengthen it through honesty. And slowly, something beautiful happens. You stop needing everyone to understand you. You stop begging people to validate what you already know. You stop explaining every decision. You stop chasing people who keep proving their distance. You stop arguing with patterns. You become quieter, sharper, harder to manipulate. And perhaps that is what people call intimidating. Fine. Let them. You don't need to become intimidating. You need to become unavailable to nonsense. There is a difference. Your presence doesn't need to dominate a room. Your standards need to survive inside one. Walk into the room, listen, observe, speak when your words add value, leave when the situation violates your principles. No performance, no announcement, no desperate attempt to prove intelligence. Real awareness rarely needs fireworks. It works quietly, like a smoke alarm before the flames reach the ceiling. And remember the metaphor. Your intuition is a lighthouse. A lighthouse doesn't chase ships. It doesn't drag sailors toward shore. It doesn't scream at the ocean. It stands. It watches. It warns. The sailor still chooses the course. Your intuition works the same way. It gives you a signal. You choose the response. Sometimes you change direction. Sometimes you investigate. Sometimes you continue. The lighthouse doesn't control the sea. It helps you see where the rocks are. You need that kind of relationship with your instincts. Respect the signal. Own the decision. Never surrender your judgment. Because the strongest person in the room isn't the person who suspects everyone. The strongest person is the person who stays calm enough to examine everything. That person doesn't need enemies everywhere. They don't need secret plots. They don't need imaginary villains. They don't need paranoia dressed as intelligence. They need awareness, and awareness has one brutal requirement: honesty. You must be honest about what you see, honest about what you don't know, honest about your fears, honest about your history, honest about your mistakes. If your intuition says someone is dangerous, investigate. If your ego says someone is jealous, investigate that too. If your fear says everyone will abandon you, challenge the fear. If your pride says you never misread anyone, laugh at your pride. You are human. Your instincts are instruments, not gods. Sharpen them, question them, use them, never worship them. And when you finally learn how to do this, something changes. You stop walking through life asking, "Who should I trust?" You start asking better questions. What has this person shown me? Does their behavior match their words? How do I feel after spending time around them? Do they respect my boundaries? Do they take responsibility? Do I become more like myself around them or less? Those questions will save you more trouble than 1,000 motivational quotes.